Today I want to talk about parenting generously. I had a parent the other day that I was coaching, and I asked her this question: what kind of parent do you want to be to your children? And very often our reactions and our actions override who we really want to be as parents, and we become the parents we don't want to be when we are frustrated with our kids, when we're stressed out with them, when we're angry, or even when we're feeling some resentment. And so we want to try and show up more calm. We want to try and be in a better place where we can love them unconditionally. My name is Mandy Frost. I'm an academic life coach to students, and I'm a coach to parents. So how do we parent generously? I want to talk about 5 areas where you can begin to parent generously so that you show up more calm and you show up more peaceful, and therefore you will respond in a calmer way when your kids do annoy you or make you angry. So the first thing is being generous with your time. And this is really being there to listen to your kids. Putting your phone down, paying attention to what they're saying to you, because they want to feel seen and they want to feel heard. And so it really is about being patient and being present and just being there when they need you. The other thing is where you can be generous is generous with your words. And I'm talking about being generous with affirmations when you are looking at praise them for who they're being. Praise them and affirm them for their character traits that they're showing, as opposed to what they're doing right and their performance, because they want to feel valued as a person, valued for who they are. Often what I find with particularly teenagers, they feel that their parents will only accept them and love them if they're performing, and it's all about performance and what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong. And so it's really important to affirm them, who they're being and who they're becoming, with affirming words. These are examples with regards to affirm them when they're being kind, affirm them when they're being helpful, affirm them when they're showing patience or when they're working hard at their school. And you could use words like, I've noticed, hey, I'm noticing how much calmer you are, or how much more patient you are with your sister. And so those things are really important. Affirm them so that they know that they're valuable and they're accepted and they're loved. The third thing where you can be generous is generous with your affection. This could be physical affection, giving them hugs. I know it depends on their love language as well, whether they like that. But also with regards to being generous with your smiles, your tone of voice, the way you're showing up in a non-verbal way, just smiling, or just a facial expression can communicate a lot of acceptance or non-acceptance with your teenagers. And so being generous with your affection and your non-verbal body language. Being generous with in humility and forgiveness. And this is where you admit when you make mistakes. This is where you say, I apologize, or I was wrong, I messed up, will you please forgive me? Let's be generous in showing up with more humility and vulnerability, admitting our mistakes, because this also helps them to not be so afraid of failure of messing up. Or, I'm finding a lot when I coach teenagers, they have a great fear of failure and making mistakes. And so when you admit your own failures, when you admit your own mistakes, this helps them with a growth mindset, and it helps them to, it's okay when you make mistakes, because I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. There's no perfect parent. There's no perfect child. And so just show up and be generous with regards to how you messing up as well as a parent. So your child can also learn how to deal with failure or mess ups. That's really important that we model the behavior we want to see in our kids. And the fifth thing, the last thing, is be generous with grace. Sometimes it's important that we're showing more grace. We tend to get sort of more focused on what they're doing wrong. And it doesn't mean that when you show grace, it doesn't mean that they get to do what they want. It doesn't mean that they don't have consequences. It doesn't mean that you don't hold them accountable. There are times when we need to show them some grace. And at the same time, grace and forgiveness, that those things come together. And so we want to become more verbal in our affirmations. We want to become more verbal in admitting our mistakes and being vulnerable. I talk a lot about moving from the boss manager parent to becoming more of a coach parent. And this is where we are saying less, we're nagging less, we're not always giving our opinions, but we're rather taking a step back and we're asking them the question. We're asking them questions so that they can think about their solutions, but it also helps us to stay calm. And I always say that a coach uses fewer words, but in this case, we want to be more vocal. We want to use more words when it comes to affirmations, more words when it comes to admitting that we're wrong or saying we're sorry. Asking for forgiveness. And so in those areas, it's important to be more vocal as a coach so that there is more forgiveness and grace on both sides. The other thing is, when we parent more generously, then we are intentionally choosing to think the best of our kids, no matter what they're doing, no matter what the situation. We're thinking the best. And when we think the best, we can become more generous. Because this changes our mindset. This changes our lens, the way we view them, the way we see them. It's necessary to think the best of them and not assume the worst, or not make assumptions about their motives or their behavior. And so when we are showing up, thinking the best of them, assuming the best, seeing them as valuable, created in God's image, forgiving them, showing grace, we can then change our mindset the way we're seeing them, particularly when perhaps you're struggling with your teenager right now. Perhaps you feel like there's a bit of resentment there. Perhaps you feel like they're pushing away from you. Maybe you don't really like them right now. Maybe you just struggle to show affection, or you don't really feel loved by them and you're really struggling. It can really help by just looking at these 5 areas of being generous with these things, and to see how your teenager starts to respond to you. And it's almost like trying to, forgive them for their own behavior, forgive them for the hurt, and showing up with a clean slate where you can now show them that you love them and yet you accept them no matter what, no matter how they have behaved towards you. We want to also try and, when we're showing up, we're seeing them in a more positive light. We want to catch them doing something right. And, instead of catching them doing something wrong, look out for those things that they are doing right. Look for those small little improvements in who they are and who they are becoming. Be a parent who gives generously in abundance, with all of these aspects, and see whether you get a change of heart with regards to how they respond to you. So when we focus on who you need to be, who I need to be as a parent, we've got to take the focus of who we think our kids need to be, because we can only change ourselves and we can't change them. So I hope that these 5 areas, being generous with your time, being generous with your words, being generous with affection, being generous with humility, showing humility and forgiveness, and being generous with grace. And I hope that as you change, as you show up, giving generously, I hope that your kids will also respond in a more positive way towards you. Thank you.